So what's interesting to me is, um, trying to figure out, trying to determine how the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, how does it inform or affect the rest of the world today? If you look into the way, the dynamic between Israel and the Palestinians and the way that the Palestinians are treated, just the conditions they're plagued, that they live in, that they exist in on a day-to-day basis, it's really unique for the 21st century. There's nothing else like it. Um, there's no other example of a first world country, I guess, or a country that has where its leaders have the level of education and experience and whatever as Israel does, that is managing the problem, the issue with the Palestinians in the way that they do. And you know, it, I think that at this point, what is worrisome isn't just the fact that isn't just the way that that they're not being um, that they're treating the Palestinians because of the dynamic between them, because of the history between them that goes, oh, I don't know, that has existed for centuries. Um, but really, how that entire dynamic, that entire scenario, how does it play out to sort of influence the rest of the world, to influence world politics? Because to me, it just seems like having a country conduct itself in the way that Netanyahu of Israel does, um, and not just him, just the Zionist faction of Israel in general all over the world do, is that it just seems to me just such a dangerous thing for the world at this time. I worry that that it's not going to inform just that conflict, but that it's going to inform the way others are treated in the world in the 21st century. That it's going to bring back a sort of dynamic that is archaic, a dynamic that we are supposed to have. It's like we're supposed to be past all that. I don't know. I mean, it's just it just. I think that's probably the more stressful fact. The more stressful aspect of it is not. I mean, which is not to say that the plight of the Palestinians is not frustrating. It is frustrating, but I think that what's more worrisome, to be really honest, is that it's not just going to be them. That if we just kind of sit back and we stroke Israel's back and make them feel good about everything, regardless of how they behave, that others are going to be next. I mean, for all practical purposes, we are going to be next. And what I mean by that is, like, you have a world that is becoming increasingly more people of color. There's nothing that, I mean, pretty soon, like 80 something percent of the world is going to be, people of the Asian, South Asia, and people in Africa. Like, those people are going to make up like the vast majority. And how are the powerful, well, currently anyway, people in like Europe and America, how are they going to handle that? And I feel like, I feel like people of Jewish descent and people from are a powerful force in the international community, because these are some of the most successful, most wealthy people in the world, and they have a lot of pull in the way things are done all over the world. So I suppose my fear is that if Palestine, if they get away with just treating the Palestinians anyhow, in a way that's completely, like I said, unlike really anything else in the 21st century, that's just going to inform the way that they deal, the way that they inform governments all over the world, the way that they inform the U.S., for example. I mean, there's a lot of powerful pull in the U.S. that is had by probably some Zionists too, and it's just worrisome. I don't know what to make of that, and it's hard to. I mean, so if you don't know about what the conditions, what the Palestinians do, just like do a search for it and find out. But it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot to it's a lot to be okay with. It's a lot to be okay with, and in spite of wanting to just be like, the way the U.S. likes to be, and just be consistent and saying, okay, we're on your side, Israel. Israel's the ally. We support them. In spite of wanting to be that, you can't just excuse anything. You can't excuse anything because it's not happening to you, because you may be next. you can't just in the name of wanting to be like, all right, what we do is we, that's the country that we, in the name of wanting to do that, you can't let him just do anything because yeah, because you think because it's not happening on your soil and it's not happening to you, okay, but it might because, I mean, these are people that have, like, they've lived everywhere in the world. I mean, people of Jewish heritage have lived in, I don't know, 100 countries in the world, from all over Europe, all over South, just everywhere, and have tremendous influence in all those. I mean, even though a lot of that movement through all those countries came through hardships, but at the end of the time, at the end of the day, it made them more powerful. It did, because it gave them a presence in all those places. So even though it came from a harsh, although those experiences were harsh, but also those experiences allowed them to have a presence and position themselves in a way in all those different places that are very powerful. And that's a good thing. I mean, that's the best thing you can hope for from hardship, right? Is that you gain something from it. And that's a great thing that they have that. Wouldn't want to take that. But the problem is that, like, what does that, if we, I feel like Israel is like a leopard that's incredibly powerful, that's trying to, like, swat a fly with a rocket, because there's this sort of inherited sense of insecurity that informs, like, the way that, that it conducts itself. And it's very dangerous and very, like, and then when you try to tell them they're wrong, they think, oh, well, you don't support. It's like, no, the point is it's too much. It's too much. And that needs to be said, and that needs to be told to them, that sometimes they're too much. And you can't make others suffer because you have suffered. Two wrongs don't make a right. And also, you have to allow what you've experienced to inform you as a good leader, and to inform you, to be able to say, no, we don't like that, that's not good, and not to impose. I mean, I don't know what, I mean, they've compared it to apartheid, right, in South Africa. I wouldn't make that comparison, because of course, the Jewish settlers and those of Jewish heritage have a history, have a presence in in those lands that predates Islam. Christianity and Judaism predated. Islam didn't show up until, like, the 7th century, right? So they were there before that, and I understand their interest in going back. I don't decry their I don't deny their right to want to go back and being claimed that, but it's just like, but what is going on? At the end of the day, you have to boil it down to the way human beings are being treated. I am scared, to be really honest. I am afraid, because I think I look at everything not through the lens of what's actually going on, but how is it going to inform other things that are going on, and how is it going to sort of have a spillover effect? Because I think we live in a world where we're in each other's heads too much, and so when bad behavior becomes excused, it's just going to, other people are just going to, I mean, we even have that with mass shootings, where we have, like, sort of copycat sort of deals. And I just worry. I worry that it's not going to stop there. That if we look at, like, literally everything about what that is going on with the Palestinian segment of society in Israel, is so strange. It's so, like, something, like, yeah, like something from like decades ago. It's so unusual for the 21st century. It's just so different. And it's dangerous. It's dangerous, because I feel as if, like, if that's okay, then what else is okay? And I worry about the sort of spillover effect. And like I said, we have a world that's changing in terms of, like, cultural, like, composition or whatever. And I worry that these guys are just going to be done with that, and they're gonna go tell these other countries, oh, this is how you deal with your people, this is how you, and it's just going to get more of, you know we're just going to get more of the same. I can't shake that concern. That's probably the biggest concern, that I don't like the way that entire dynamic, what Israel gets away with with the Palestinians. It's too much. It's too much, and it's so unusual for, like, 2020. It's just so weird, and I don't see any good that could come of that. I think that I'm so worried that they'll just, you know, feed their powerful influence into other countries, and then we'll just get more of that, and that's scary, And so, in spite of the position that Israel's claiming, and being being located among Islamists who can randomly who can randomly become, violent or jihadi, and that they're hard to control. I understand that, but at the same time, they still owe a responsibility to the people. I mean, they just like they level buildings and let like children die in dozens and hundreds. They do all that like it's nothing, and they never like, it's just it's a lot, and I don't understand it. I know that there's like, there's other oppressive regimes too, but at least we call them on it more. When North Korea behaves the way they do, we treat them like how they are. When, it's when Saudi Arabia behaves, and it's just something we're thinking about, in the sense is the sense that how does this inform the rest of the world, and how does this kind of behavior and this kind of structure feed into the way the rest of the world conducts itself. I don't want to live the way the Palestinians do. I mean, if I to put myself in their shoes is like, it's just such a scary thought, but and maybe we think, oh well, that would never happen here, but that's exactly the danger. I feel as if um there's a sense of worry that you know that this dynamic that they have over there could, since they have so much influence in all these other, it could inform the way that minorities are dealt with in other countries, especially in a world that where the demographic is changing so rapidly. I don't want them to go tell other countries that this is how you deal with these people and this is how you deal with those people, because they're going to inform them in a way that is as brutal as what they do. And oh, God forbid. I'm sorry, but in Jesus' name, yeah, I can't. It's incredibly, it's incredibly worrisome, and we have to be wary of that. We have to, we can't just let them do whatever they do blindly. It just doesn't. Because it'll be blood on our hands, and then when it's our turn, we can't say, "Oh, why are you letting this happen to me?" Because it'll be like, "Yeah, well, you saw it happening in the past, and you just." So we just need to, be more nuanced in the way that we deal with Israel, and really kind of, encourage them to really handle the Palestinians in a way that aligns with the modern world, and that isn't so focused on a sense of theological entitlement. Um, because if God wants to give it something to you, He can give it to you without having you kill other people to get it. I just don't agree with that. I don't agree that we should be okay with that.